This is Paulette on FiveEyes.tv. Today I will be speaking with Jennifer Tomlinson, who is a medical officer in the Dermatology Clinic in Kingston. Welcome to FiveEyes.tv, Jennifer.
Thank you, Paulette. All right.
Jennifer, what I'd like to find out from you today is how you got interested in dermatology. Can you tell me, was this what you wanted to do from when you were young?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be a doctor.
From
when I was very young. I think I wanted to follow my mother, who was in nursing. But I didn't know that I wanted to do dermatology until I was actually a medical student. And that part of medicine just fascinated me. So I think it's, you know, as a young doctor, that's what I decided to do. And later on, I developed an interest in HIV medicine as well.
Really? So how old were you when you decided you wanted to study medicine?
Oh, as a young child, probably 9 or 10 years old. I knew what I wanted to do, and I've never wanted to do anything else.
Really? So that's really most of the battle done.
Exactly.
Know what you want to do.
And then you just set a path, you set a course in that direction. And I've never deviated from that course. Everything that I did through going through school is because I want to be a doctor.
Gosh. So where did you study?
I studied at University of the West Indies on the Mona campus. I did 2 years of a Bachelor of Science degree, and then I switched to the Faculty of Medicine, which was another 5 years.
5 years. So didn't you find that long haul studying?
It's hard. The studying is hard, but if you like what you're doing and this is all you want to do, so you just get on with it, you know. And the good thing about studying medicine is that a lot of it is very practical. So you spend a lot of time on the ward with the patients while you're actually learning.
Okay.
And that part was great. You know, you're learning on the job. So it made the studying seem less tedious.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer that myself. So I'm going to take you back a little bit. Jennifer, tell me about your background when you were growing up. Right, so can you tell me about your background?
Well, I come from Kingston. My parents are both professional. My mother was a nurse, and so I think that's why I got interested in medicine. And my father is an engineer. And I have one sister who is an engineer.
Oh,
so
one of each then. After your father, you after your mother.
That's right. And I grew up in Kingston, went to an all-girls high school, like track and field, and did reasonably well at school. And then I just moved on to university.
Where were you born? Was you born in Jamaica?
I wasn't born here, I was born in London.
In London?
When my parents were studying, they studied in London. And when I was 3 years old, they left and they actually moved to Toronto. So I spent the next 4 years in Canada, which is where I started school, and then I left Canada and they decided to come back to Jamaica. So I've been here ever since. So I've been here since I was 7.
Oh, right. You mentioned track.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about that? Are you good at running? I've got to ask you this. Well, I have to ask you this now with Usain Bolt.
You know, I think probably if we had some of the opportunities that our teenagers have now, then I might have been able to go a little further. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it immensely. I would have loved to go further with it. But it really, at that time, was not an option. It was just something you did as an extracurricular activity.
Oh, really? So how good were you?
Well, I made my school team, and I was on the university track team. But I was never a star, you know. But I enjoyed it. I loved it. And I still enjoy watching it.
I was going to say, looking at Usain Bolt now, he's opened up the world to Jamaica and athletics, because I stopped watching it for a good few years, but all of a sudden now I'm glued to the telly.
And this is the best thing about Usain Bolt, is the interest that he's generated in track and field again, in Jamaica and even around the world. I mean, when you watch other countries that don't participate as much in track and field. Now everybody's paying attention to Usain Bolt now. And all the young children in Jamaica, everybody wants to be a track star. You know, everybody wants to be an athlete. So it's all good.
Yeah, it's inspiring, isn't it?
It's inspiring, and we need more young men like Mr. Bolt to inspire our young people, you know, in positive ways.
Yeah. So what I want to ask you now is more about the dermatology. So can you tell me sort of how you started and what you do?
Well, as a medical student, you know, you have to rotate through every discipline. And we had a consultant, Dr. Lagranat, who made it, to me, she made it so fascinating, it was so interesting that the minute I set foot on the dermatology ward, I realized, well, this is it.
Oh, really?
This is what I want to do. I'm not somebody who loves the fast-paced, minute-to-minute excitement. You know, I like dermatology. I find it more contemplative, and you actually have more of a relationship with the patients because there's a lot more dialogue that goes on. And it's not high tension and high stress medicine like emergency medicine and surgery. Those fields didn't excite me at all, not at all. And so, you know, I like the more slow-paced, contemplative practice of dermatology.
So how many years did it take you to make that decision?
Well, after I finished medical school and you finish your 2 years of internship, then I worked for a year on the dermatology service at University Hospital. And then from there, I went to England and I stayed there for 2 years doing dermatology and a little bit of exposure to sexually transmitted diseases. And then I came back and I've been at KPH Dermatology Clinic ever since. So I would say it took me 3 years to finish, you know, qualifying as a dermatologist to practice in Jamaica.
Okay, what, 3 years in total?
3 years after finishing medical school and after finishing internship. To really, you know.
So that's a good few years.
Sure. But you know, again, you're working all during this time. You're working, you're seeing patients, you're dealing with the patients on a day-to-day basis. And at the same time, you know, as you come upon the conditions, you're learning about them. And so that's a much easier way to study.
Well,
easier way to learn.
Well, while I'm looking at you, I'm looking at your skin, and
so I have to put that down to genes. Not anything that happened. That's just good genes.
So with dermatology, do you see the patient once, or is it an ongoing thing?
It varies. There are some patients that we only need to see once, but we usually, I mean, with dermatology, you get a lot of chronic conditions, a lot of chronic skin conditions that just need ongoing care. Sometimes you see them more often than other times, and so we'll see patients, you know, every 3 months, every 2 months, sometimes every 6 months, sometimes once a year, depending on what the condition is. But we tend in dermatology to see a lot of chronic conditions that we cannot cure, but we get under control.
Right.
And so our clinics tend to be large, but the patients are not, they're not complicated. All right. Although the clinics are large, and you know, the patients, we tend to have to keep on seeing them. They're not particularly difficult to manage.
So, you know, looking at people that come to you in general, is it that people don't look after their skin? Do they take it for granted?
We don't have, no. The majority of patients that come to us, they have genuine medical conditions. They have genuine medical conditions. It's just that skin conditions tend to be very ongoing. We don't have any cure. We don't have any cure for eczema, you know, that kind of thing. But we do have a growing number of patients in our clinic who are abusing certain chemicals and steroid creams to bleach their skin.
Oh, really?
So the bleaching problem is reaching the dermatology service because initially they use the bleaching creams, the steroid creams, and so on. They don't heed the warnings, and then when they get the long-term complications and side effects of these creams, then they come to the clinic, by which time it's very often too late to do anything to reverse the damage that they've done. So we're getting an increasing number of those patients in our clinic as well.
So the bleaching creams, what is this? Prolonged
Yes,
You see it.
it's a problem in Jamaica at the moment, where the women buy these things off the sidewalk, basically. Steroid creams that should be prescription items, and other creams that can be used because they have bleaching effects on the skin. And they mix up concoctions and use them sometimes just on the face, sometimes on the whole body.
Really?
And it's an ongoing problem because if you're using it, once you stop, the color is going to come back, so you have to keep on doing it. And of course, all of these creams have side effects. Steroids have their side effects, and some of these bleaching creams have side effects. Some of the side effects are just local, I mean they're just on some of the side effects can be systemic, can affect the entire body.
Really?
And our warnings are falling on deaf ears.
So is it because they want to get lighter, or?
Paulette, I don't know. That is the theory. They want to get lighter. A lot of them will tell you that they don't want to get lighter, they just want to tone. But it's the same thing. It gets them several shades lighter, and they think that that gives them more of an advantage in society. Whether it is on a personal level in their relationships, they are found to be more attractive by
being
men.
lighter.
And they think that having a lighter complexion gets them a better advantage in the workplace. We don't know. We don't know.
Gosh. Anyway, Jennifer, I'd like to ask you, how do you relax?
I love to just be at home. I like to read. I love to read. And I listen to music with my daughter.
What type of music?
Whatever she's listening to. Whatever she's listening to. So she's 14. She's into everything that's current.
So do you get up and do the dances as well?
Yeah, but she begs me not to. But I like to be at home. Sometimes when I'm in the mood, I like to bake. And then I have a couple of very good friends that I'm close to, and we talk on the phone. We hang out sometimes. We go to the movies. But I'm not a party animal. I'm not into too much nightlife. I think I'm getting old now.
But I understand your husband's also a doctor.
Yes, he is. He's a surgeon.
All right.
He's into the high stress and high tension life, but he loves it. He loves it. So I guess we complement each other.
This is Paulette on FiveEyes.tv speaking with Jennifer Tomlinson in Kingston, Jamaica. So, Jennifer, where did you meet your husband?
We met on the job. And as an intern, when you just graduate, the only people that you see are other doctors and other medical staff, because you spend your entire life at the hospital. You go on duty at 8 o'clock in the morning and you come off duty at 4 o'clock the following afternoon.
My goodness.
So these are the people that you see, and you end up starting to socialize with.
Yeah. And I suppose in that type of profession you have to be a very committed person and enjoy it.
Exactly. What I say is that you have to love it. You can't do medicine, you can't be a doctor if you really, really are not passionate about it, because a lot of young people will say yes, they want to do medicine, they want to be a doctor, but once you get into it, it's so demanding. It is really very demanding, and it's not a job that you do from 8 to 4 and then leave it and come home. Very often you carry it home with you. You spend your time thinking about, did I do the right thing for this patient? What am I going to do for that patient tomorrow? And even when you're at home, you're still thinking about work, and you spend a lot of time at work.
What advice would you give someone who wants to become involved into the medical profession?
It's a very rewarding profession. Very rewarding. There's no better feeling than getting someone better and sending them home. But it requires a lot of dedication, and so it's not a profession that you go into because you think you can earn a good salary. All right, you have to really want to make a difference. You have to really want to help people. It's a profession where you're helping people, and that's the bottom line. Because we have a lot of young doctors coming in now who I think they're more interested about getting out there and earning the money than they are about learning the skills that it takes to help people.
The thing is, no amount of money, if you're not getting a social life or getting time to relax, can be beneficial, surely.
Well,
not.
that is true. That is true. And at the outset, you spend hours. You spend the majority of your life at the hospital.
Yeah.
But as you get more highly trained and more highly specialized, it gets better. The hours get better. And you then begin to delegate responsibility to people more junior to you, and you get a little more of a supervisory role. So while the responsibility is still there, the long hours and those long hours of hard labor and being up at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, those days tend to get less.
So let me ask you now, how many years do you have to do before you get into that position?
It depends on what you're doing. It depends on what you're doing. Me, I don't get called at night. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
So, and then again, there are very few dermatology emergencies. You know, there are very few. There are some, but they're very few. But my husband now is a surgeon. He's out at all hours of the night, 2-3 times a week. You know, so it depends on your specialty. And as I say, if you're going to do something like that, you have to love it. He loves it. He loves it. Once they call, he jumps up and he's gone. He's gone.
The adrenaline starts.
Yes. So.
All right, Jennifer, thank you very much. It's been a very interesting conversation.
I'm glad for it.
Yes, and you know, I have to take my hat off to people like yourselves. You know, truly inspirational, and there has to be a huge amount of commitment, because personally, I do love people, but it's a huge commitment of your life. And even after doing all those years and it getting better, you've still got to go through the initial part, don't you?
Yes, but you know, it all comes down to enjoying what you do.
Well, and that's
once
it.
Once you have a job, once you have a career, you just have to enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy it. So I hope I'll continue to enjoy it.
Yeah, and there's the fulfillment of helping people.
Absolutely.
All right, Jennifer, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right.